What's up guys, K-Blaze here. Hope everyone's been enjoying Gamescom so far. There's been plenty of new info coming out about Monster Hunter Wilds, and fully showing off all the new weapon toys that got teased in the trailers earlier this month. Well, for almost every weapon at least. I'm sure all you Hunting Horn mains out there have been noticing the distinct lack of gameplay for our favorite weapon. It's a shame really, because our trailer raised about just as many questions as it answered when it comes to the state of duding in Wilds. Well, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that for those of you who haven't seen it, Hunting Horn actually was used twice over the last 2 days on the Capcom Germany livestream. The bad news, well, for those of you that have seen it, you'll probably have realized that the same guy played it twice, and he's not exactly the best Hunting Horn user, to put it lightly. Now, I'm gonna try to not be hard on the guy because the Gamescom demo should absolutely be available to everyone, not just pro Monster Hunter players. If nothing else, like it or not, he has given us the only Wilds Hunting Horn footage out there so far to go over. There's still some pretty valuable and interesting info to be gained there, so until we get some more solid gameplay, we can use this to see what new things are in store for us. First things first though, before we even get into all of that and before it even gets mentioned in the comments, yes, I did see the Super Rad video confirming songs carrying over when you swap weapons. I'm sure some of you will want to know how I feel about that since I have mentioned worrying about the state of Hunting Horn if it turned out to work that way. So to answer the question before it's even asked, I'll say this: don't jump the gun just yet, because that's something that's probably going to need some further testing. Mind you, I'm not denying that it's true, we just need to look into some further details there. You notice that despite saying, look guys, my longsword has self-improvement and attack up now, he never actually tried to compare a before and after to see if he got the attack increase, faster movement speed, or mind's eye from those songs. Sure, the buff icons do stay there when he swaps, but Capcom has already told us that weapon buffs will be stored so that you won't have to reactivate them if you swap and swap back. Not that they'll apply to wherever you use. It's worth noting that applying self-improvement to other weapons has been tried before with modding in past games and literally does not work. It's more of a weapon-specific boost than a typical buff. Because of that, I'm not so sure that the icon staying there after the swap is a hard confirmation just yet. We'll probably at least need to wait until the public downloadable demo to be absolutely sure. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't biased against the possibility being true, because I'd rather not see my weapon become a freebie buffing tool. But I'm trying my best to stay impartial here and just wait until more solid proof. It's most likely that whatever gains a player might get from using Hunting Horn like this will be offset by the fact that they'll have to constantly call their sacred, mount, swap weapons, cue notes, play songs, call their sacred again, mount again, and then swap back into their main. So it's not quite as free as an exploit as it sounds like in theory. Just properly playing Hunting Horn will be far more efficient and far less of a hassle. So yeah, we'll see. But with that out of the way, let's talk Hunting Horn gameplay. Fortunately, thanks to a few outside sources like the demo weapon controls guide and a few secondhand impressions from some lucky Hunting Horn players at Gamescom on Reddit and Discord, I've been able to collect some extra info to go along with the footage we have so far. Like I said earlier, I would have liked to get some more solid visuals before putting this video together, but beggars can't be choosers, and between all those sources we still have plenty to learn and share. First things first, you fans of World song mechanics will be happy to know that they're nearly 100% back, with some minor tweaks. The Hunting Horn in the demo is different than the Hunting Horn in the trailer, so we can't use the method I mentioned in my last video to figure out whether or not the note colors will correspond to the exact same song list they used to. But with this song list, we have an answer to that question anyway. Yes. And no. If you look at the white, red, yellow song list in World, it's got pretty much the exact same songs, but you'll notice a few things have been altered. There's no longer an echo note, which might mean no spin to win echo attack unfortunately, but the impact echo wave is still there with a slightly new name. It's a regular song now, also taking the old attack up note combo. This means that the song lists may or may not be more or less the same than they were before, but also may be changed. Having only seen one out of several though, we can't be sure just yet. One big difference we see in this one example is that it's missing the yellow note echo bubble song, but instead it gains the movement speed and evasion echo buff that used to be on the light blue echo bubble. From what we can gather there, echo bubbles will now be a single buffing effect that'll be different from horn to horn, on top of the extra sound waves we saw in the trailer. The mechanics work more or less exactly as we predicted. The special buff is only active when you're in or near the bubble, and if you swing your horn or play songs in the same area, you get those extra waves. It's essentially a combo of Rise and Sunbreak's Bead and Resonance and Silkbind Shockwave and Iceborne's Echo Bubble. I find it a bit odd that they make you stay within a specific area for a movement speed boost, but we'll need to play around with that a bit more before it makes sense. In the full game, maybe the other buffs or this one might mesh better with the mechanics, or Horn Maestro's skills might extend the range of the buff timers. In any case though, it's apparently already been confirmed that you can place a max of 3 bubbles, so spreading out your effective area might be the way to go after all. Going back to the regular songs though, we got confirmation on 2 big questions. Proper note combos are back, and we'll be able to chain them together to store up to 3 songs like we were able to do in World. Both great pieces of news because World song mechanics were some of the best and most technical we've ever had, and this time they're taking it one step further with the new performance beat move. We didn't get to see this used to its full potential unfortunately, but I can work out enough about it based on what I've seen and heard about it to say that it'll be a great addition to our gameplay. This is that mystery side slap we were all wondering about in the trailer, so it's nice to see how it works now. To explain it to you guys, I'll put it like this. Picture how you were able to start a recital with a full song queue in World and play through all 3 if you sat and did nothing. When you encored, you get a full 3 songs for the price of 1, but you'd be sitting in place not attacking for a long time, so it wasn't always advisable. With Performance Beat though, you'll now have an input to quickly skip to that next song in the queue while also doing another attack. Again, we don't actually see this done more than once, but if you look at the button inputs, you'll notice that there's an option to do this up to 2 times in a row before your now much faster Rise style encore of the full stack. This is almost exactly how I was hoping Recital mode would work down to the letter, which is super exciting because I was sitting there making my wishlist videos way back when and thinking that it was a huge ask. I'm claiming 1 more point for the K-Plays Call It tally, thank you very much Capcom. Let's maybe make it 2 or even 3 with these next details. The last thing we can grab about songs here is this brief description of the special performance. Thanks to a few Hunting Horn heroes over at Gamescom, we now know how it works. Once you queue up this note combination, it'll be stored separately from your normal 3-song queue. You'll then be able to use our new offset attack counter we saw at the end of the trailer with the button input shown here. It's pretty thematic that our counter is essentially a song, and it'll probably add a nice extra layer of technique to have to make sure you always have one on hand. It might seem a little annoying to have to preload your counter, but with these notes and a few of our old tricks, which we'll get to in a second, you can have this stocked up in as little as 3 moves. Not too bad in my opinion. The bigger reveal though is that like the Echo Bubbles effects, your special performance may also vary from horn to horn. We have yet to see that crazy Sonic Smash attack from the trailer, and since you only get 1 horn in the demo, it can only be assumed that you'll now have a special attack tied to either each note set or maybe even each horn. More variables means much more possible weapon variety in the full game, so I'm tentatively optimistic there. The only reason I'm not all in on this is that if our counter is locked behind a song, it might make certain song lists or horns much more valuable than others, unless the other options are just as good. Now let's move on to the basic moves, because you can't play songs without stringing together some notes first. We'll see from the buttons guide and a few combos that we've gone back to the basics from the World moveset. The flourishing move for getting 2 notes for the price of 1 is back, and while it's not listed here, so is the good old hilt stab shortcut. Attacks can also now be done in any order again. This will be useful for getting back to the ways of chaining together the right swings in the right order to utilize our recitals. Pretty much business as usual if you played World, but we did keep a few Rise moves as well. I've had my fingers crossed for this first thing. It's only really quickly shown and likely only by accident, but it seems like the neutral draw into any note is here to stay. You can see instead of a locked in forward slam in a note 1, this player is able to draw into a back slam in a note 3. In a game where the order and combination of your notes actually matters, this is a much more useful quality of life feature than it was in Rise. Another move that also makes a return is the Crush, which is now a follow-up to the Super Pound attack. We'll be spamming this a lot less than we did in Rise since it's now combo locked, but it works well here as a decently damaging combo linker for stocking songs that need 2 to 3 note 3s in a row. Speaking of stocking notes, here's something I wasn't ready for but very pleasantly surprised to see. You guys know that focus attack that uses the Earthshaker animation? Yeah, that move is basically a flourish on steroids. Ironically, we got this reveal from an example of what not to do because the move failed, but if you look at the button prompts, you'll see why they didn't do the awesome Soundwave jam session we saw in the trailer. This is basically a QuickTime event where you'll have to input notes along with your hunter strumming his saxophone? Don't think about the logistics there though. These aren't the important details. The implication there is that when used properly, this should allow you to quickly string together like 5 or 6 notes worth of songs for your queue, which will then give you ammo for your new performance beat recitals, which, if you have a few echo bubbles up, should net you a bunch of extra sound damage. Just the thought of all that without even seeing what else the horn might be capable of now makes me want to see someone use these strategies to their full potential, because from the looks of it, you'll be able to set things up so your damage racks up like crazy. And all that isn't even taking into account all the little minor techniques shown off by accident here, like how the player unintentionally readjusted his horn position from behind the back to front facing. For someone doing that on purpose, it'll be useful for landing sound waves without having to shuffle yourself into position like you had to do before. At first glance, that's a pretty small tweak, but to me that's a super impactful change that makes me really want to get my hands on this new horn moveset and dissect it to find out what else might be hiding down there. If you guys really want to see these hunts in full, I'll link the streams in the descriptions along with the timestamps for where the Hunting Horn gameplay starts, but if we're any luckier than we have been over the last 2 days, we'll hopefully be seeing some better Hunting Horn gameplay soon. Do me a favor, cross your fingers and do a recital in whatever Monster Hunter game you have with me so we can throw enough Hunting Horn energy into the universe to make it happen. Until then though, this has been another K-Plays and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.